Hello everyone, join us in this video on our motorcycle tour through Scotland. Today we are riding the famous North Coast 500 from Inverness to the Isle of Skye and on to a small fishing village. You can expect great pictures and lots of sights. Of course, the GPX tracks are also included in the description. We hope you enjoy our pictures. On our fifth day, we really get started with the NC500 in Inverness. Our journey takes us mainly to the Isle of Skye with its beautiful landscape, but we also make a detour to the famous castle from the Highlander film. Our stage then ends in Plockton, a romantic little fishing village. We start the day with a delicious breakfast in our hotel's conservatory. Intuitively, we seem to have only booked hotels that don't serve a typical English breakfast. So our plates are missing sausages, bacon, baked beans and black pudding. Okay, the kitchen didn't want to do without the inevitable hollandaise sauce. After breakfast and an inevitable rain shower, we start a new day on the banks of the Bewley Firth near Inverness. Starting today, we will be traveling along the North Coast 500, which begins and ends in Inverness. This tourist route covers 516 miles along the coast of Scotland. It was created in 2015 to boost tourism. Signs marking the route and many attractions can be found everywhere. We are traveling clockwise and will also make a detour to the Isle of Skye today, which is not actually on the route. We are looking forward to the many single-track roads, although not so much to the motorhomes. The tourist board asks that accommodation, for example hotels or campsites, should be booked in advance. We can only agree, as we passed many bed and breakfasts that were fully booked. Scotland is a popular holiday destination and the north of Scotland is sparsely populated with few places to stay or restaurants. The small town of Muir of Ord, with its typical small town architecture, is best known for its huge distillery. Here we pass the sign for the Glenord distillery. Glenord is one of Scotland's largest distilleries and belongs to the Diageo Group. It actually produces 2.6 million gallons of whiskey per year. When in Scotland, it is worth mentioning the 5 different whiskey regions. On our tour, we come from the lowlands, where lighter blended whiskies, which means mixtures of different types of whiskey, were originally produced from various types of grain. We are currently driving through the Highlands with their approximately 40 distilleries, which are known for their malts made from malted barley. Everything from lighter to salty maritime malts is available here. Speyside, part of the Highlands, accounts for about half of the distilleries with malts that are less smoky and very fruity. Another subcategory of the Highlands are the islands, which often produce smoky or peaty bottlings. Campbelltown has unfortunately lost its status as the whisky capital of the world. That leaves Islay with its intense, strongly smoky whisky. For those who want to learn more, we have provided a link to further information in the top right-hand corner. The route behind Inverness is relatively long, but not so spectacular, taking us past various lochs such as Loch Garth, Loch Luchard and Loch Long, where one of today's highlights awaits us. We are now approaching Loch Long Bridge on the lake of the same name. Loch Long is a sea inlet or fjord on the west coast of Scotland. In Scotland, such fjords are called sea lochs. During the Second World War, torpedo tests were carried out in the northern part of the bay. Numerous wrecks still bear witness to these tests. Today, the area is a popular spot for recreational divers. However, Loch Long is best known for Eilean Donan Castle, which we are approaching here. The castle's popularity is evident from its well-developed infrastructure, which includes parking spaces, barriers and parking attendants. We are directed to a parking space that is free for motorcyclists. Thank you very much. Eilean Donan Castle dates back to the 13th century and is located on a small headland where Loch Long flows into Loch Dwick. The name itself means Donan's Island. Today the tide is out, but at high tide the headland becomes a tiny tidal island that can only be reached by a stone footbridge. Due to the bad weather, we decided not to use our drone. But we're happy to show you some footage here while the sun is shining. The castle in its current form was only completed in 1932 after 20 years of restoration work. After all, 300 barrels of gunpowder were used to blow it up in the 18th century. Today the castle is used as a museum as one of the most photographed landmarks in Scotland. It became famous primarily as a backdrop in films such as Highlander 1, Braveheart, Entrapment and the James Bond film The World Is Not Enough. Unfortunately, we have a lot planned for today and so cannot join one of the guided tours for the more than 300,000 tourists who visit the castle every year. So, enough of the beautiful pictures and on we go in the light rain. By the way, we met another biker in the car park who surprised us with the following statement. "Oh, you've really had bad luck. It hasn't rained here for the last 6 weeks." We smiled politely and then put on our rain gear. Shit happens. Even on a rainy morning, it gets crowded in front of the famous Isle of Skye. Lucky are those who have enough petrol in their tanks, because this petrol station is unfortunately closed, so no more petrol here. After a short traffic jam, we are now approaching the famous Skye Bridge, which you can already see on the left in the background. The Skye Bridge, with a span of 550 yards, has connected the Isle of Skye with the Scottish mainland since 1995. Previously, there were only ferries here, and it was only with the increase in tourist traffic that the idea of a bridge was conceived. Initially, a bridge toll was levied for the privately pre-financed bridge. After £33 million had been collected by 2004, 500 toll evaders had been arrested and 130 convictions had been obtained, the Scottish government finally bought the bridge for £27 million and abolished the bridge toll. So today we saved around £12. We begin our journey of discovery across the Isle of Skye on well-maintained roads. The Isle of Mist lives up to its name. With an area of more than 639 square miles, it is the largest island in the Inner Hebrides. There are 7 administrative districts on the island itself. We are currently driving through Strath, whose landscape is predominantly characterized by moorland. Despite the rain, we enjoy the drive along the east coast towards Sconsa. The island's coastline is deeply indented. The sea locks cut so far into the interior that no point on the island is more than 5 miles from the sea. For a long time, the sea was also the island's main source of income, providing seaweed. This was used to make soap, bleaching agents, and glass. The history of Skye has been documented since the 6th century and, like much of Scotland, is marked by violence. The clans were formed from Vikings and Norwegian settlers. The MacLeod's clan lost its rule to the MacDonalds, who in turn were subject to the Scottish king. Incidentally, MacDonald's is written with the letter A, and both words are written together. The Burger Company from the former British colony has nothing to do with this. While Black Hill's waterfall at the viewpoint of the same name was rather unspectacular, you can see how the weather changes in just a few minutes. As the weather here on the island can change from one minute to the next, we want to enjoy the sunshine while we can and continue our journey towards Sconsa. The fact that only around 10,000 people live on the Isle of Skye is evident from the lonely mountains. However, there's a lot going on the well-developed A road we are currently driving on. A roads are comparable to German federal highways and are used by around 650,000 tourists every year on the Isle of Skye. There are also B roads and single-track roads, which we have already encountered. Of course, there are no motorways on the Isle of Skye, as is generally the case in the Scottish Highlands. We don't mind that at all. As planned, we reached the Sligachan Old Bridge with the Black Helens Mountains in the background. The legend of Sligachan says that if you dip your face in the river water at the Sligachan Bridge, you will gain eternal beauty. We should have continued north towards Portree, but the Black Mountains attracted us so much that we took a detour or a loop. This means we will pass this beautiful bridge several times today. We glide relaxed along the narrow road through the gentle hilly landscape. You may find it hard to believe, but we are still driving on an A road. There are 2 smaller categories below this. The road has now changed direction and we leave the Cullens Hills behind us. We continue through the civil parish Brackadale. The Talisker Whisky distillery at Loch Harport is very close by. Unfortunately, alcohol is not compatible with our plans for the day, and we are not fans of strongly smoky whisky either. Near the small village of Brackadale we turn onto a B-road towards Portree, which can be impassable in winter. The roads on the Isle of Skye are often wet and slippery in winter and can freeze, especially on remote roads, as not all of them are gritted. There is also risk of flooding during heavy rain. The area where we are right now is known for its high rainfall. This is due to the high mountains surrounding it. Warm air can hold more moisture than cold air. When air masses hit mountains, they are forced to rise. The higher the air rises, the more it cools, as air pressure decreases with altitude. When the rising air reaches the dew point, it can no longer hold the moisture present, and it will rain. Especially now in the rain, the roads here seem very lonely. Hardly any cars pass by. It's hard to imagine what life is like here in winter. In the off-season, few tourists visit the island, so many bars, hotels and restaurants are closed. Campsites close in September. The island falls into a kind of hibernation to recover from the chaos of the summer months. The following 3 minutes summarize our short round trip back to Sligachant Old Bridge quite well. You remember our short round trip, don't you? Just let the landscape work its magic on you and enjoy the ride. If that's too boring for you, feel free to fast forward to minute 2020, then we're back at the bridge. And here we are again at Sligachan Old Bridge, but this time we're taking a break for food at Sumis's Bar. Lots of tourists but delicious food. More information is available at the top right. Refreshed, we are now heading north again and have left Portree behind us. We are driving past Uig Bay in bright sunshine. The small farming village of Irigil is also located on the coast of Uig Bay. The road is very narrow, but what could possibly happen to you on a motorbike? The bus driver here must have thought so too, and now he gets to prove his driving skills on this hairpin bend. So we can watch the rush hour on this small road with interest before continuing on our way. Fortunately, the minibus turns right here and we can enjoy this beautiful landscape on our own for the time being. Our journey through the north of the Isle of Skye treats us to beautiful coastal scenery. In the remote Schliste region of the Toturnish Peninsula on the Isle of Skye stands this bright red telephone box, a quirky landmark redesigned by the community. Inside you might find an information board, a small library, or a place to leave postcards. To us, it's just a decommissioned telephone box, but Google lists almost 30 reviews of the red box with a score of 4.8 out of 5. Most reviews start with "it's a phone booth" and usually end there. Kilmallourk is a small community at the northernmost tip of the Toturnish Peninsula, consisting of 5 hamlets. The name means Church of St. Morlock and refers to the 6th century saint who brought Christianity to the region. Kilmallourk became famous for a wooden barrel of bog butter from the 1st century that was discovered in 1931 during peat extraction. The practice of sinking barrels of food into peat bogs was widespread in Ireland and Great Britain, where the low temperatures and highly acidic environment of the bog acted as a kind of primitive refrigerator, preserving food for years. The barrel of fat in Kilmallourk had been carved from a single piece of birch. We continue to follow 2 motorhomes near Floddigary Rocks. We have always been cautious when following an indie camper, as these are usually rented by inexperienced tourists. However, the 2 campers in front of us also do not seem to understand that passing places are not only intended to allow oncoming traffic to pass. We now turn off to the Kilt Rock and Mealt Falls viewpoint. There's a large car park on the side with plenty of spaces. The parking fee is £6 per day. Visitors to the site are protected by a barrier between the steep cliff edge and a semi-circular concrete platform next to the car park. Its resemblance to the tartan pattern of a kilt earned this coastline the name Kilt Rock. The 100 yards high wall of multicolored hexagonal columns of basalt rock is hard to miss from the sea and served as an important landmark for sailors in the past. Volcanic activity is responsible for this unusual rock formation. Around 60 million years ago, lava flowed continuously between sandstones and cooled down. This is how the pattern was created. Not far from the viewing platform you can see the spectacular Mealt Falls. Fed by the fresh water of Loch Mealt, the waterfalls plunge over 65 yards onto the rocky coast. However, it is not uncommon for the water to never even reach the ground. The wind sometimes changes it into a fine mist and carries it away. It is precisely this wind that is preventing us from launching our own drone, but we have still managed to find some beautiful images for you. While we're on the subject of kilts, although we visited a few tourist traps, we didn't encounter any kilts, which means knee-length skirts worn as part of Highland clothing or uniforms. The full kilt has been around since the 16th century, and in the 19th century the short kilt was developed, which reaches to the wearer's knees. Traditionally, kilts are reserved for men, while women wear kilted skirts which are similar to kilts. The tartan check pattern is typical of kilts, although it did not indicate the wearer's clan, but rather their wealth. Whether you wear a kilt with or without underwear is a matter of personal preferences. One attraction follows another. After Kilt Rock, we now drive past the Old Man of Storr. The Old Man of Storr, where Storr stands for big, is a 50 yards high rock needle. The bizarre rock formation that you are about to see was formed at the edge of enormous landslides. Near to the old man are other rock needles, which are sometimes referred to as his family. However, one rock needle that was once referred to as his wife collapsed years ago. According to legend, an old man and his wife were searching the area for a runaway cow. They encountered giants from whom they fled. During their escape, they glanced back and were turned to stone. The rock formation has been used as a film set on several occasions, for example in Ridley Scott's science fiction film Prometheus and the fantasy film Snow White and the Huntsman. It's still dry and we're still looking forward to Portree. Portree is the main town and the only town on the island. The small harbour town with its colourful houses has many pubs and restaurants, which is good because we're slowly getting hungry. Well, now we're stuck behind a huge lorry and it's raining. Our motivation for taking a break is low as we still have a few miles to go. Here on the left we can now see some colorful houses, landmarks of Portree. In good weather the arbor promenade is beautiful and the colors of the houses really shine. All we can see shining are the brake lights of the lorry in front of us. As always on the Isle of Skye, the rain suddenly stops and the roads are dry again, mainly because there is so much wind. Apart from the low temperature, this is probably one of the reasons why we have been spared one of Scotland's biggest plagues, midgets. From May to October it is almost impossible to escape these little pests. The Highland midge detects its victim by smelling its breath, or more precisely, the carbon dioxide it exhales. The midge can do this within a radius of 100 yards. Incidentally, the Highland midge do not sting, they bite. They have special mandibles with which they cut into the skin. Then they suck the blood. To accelerate blood flow, the midge pumps its saliva into the wound. Histamine in the saliva has the property of dilating small blood vessels, but at the same time it is also responsible for the skin's reaction. Incidentally, there is actually a website that shows which areas of Scotland are currently particularly affected by midgets. After passing Sligachan Old Bridge for the third time in glorious sunshine, we are now driving back towards Skybridge, passing Loch Sligachan once again. As you can clearly see, there are many mountains to the left and right of Loch Sligachan that are ideal for hiking. But be careful, the mountains are not for the inexperienced, and off the beaten track you need alpine experience. The hotel at Sligachan Old Bridge is an ideal base for climbing the surrounding mountains, and afterwards you can try up to 70 different whiskies in the bar next door. Ah, so this is what the Skye Bridge and the surrounding landscape look like in the sunshine. Behind Skybridge, we turn off towards our destination for the day, Plockton on Loch Carron. The drive is the perfect end to the day, sunny, warm, simply beautiful. We always expect oncoming traffic and now drive rather passively. However, we did not expect this BMW, which was parked very strangely in the ditch. The missing number plate suggests that it has been scrapped, but the Bimmer actually looks too well maintained for that. Okay, we're obviously not yet familiar with all Scottish habits. Here we are driving through the small village of Inverness, and once again we notice that there is often a publicly accessible defibrillator, or PAD for short, available. Scotland has committed itself to improving survival rates after cardiac arrest outside of hospital. Organizations, companies, associations, groups and communities in the United Kingdom have installed these pads in order to save lives. There is also a website where you can find out where the nearest pad is located. Today's stage ends in Plockton, a picturesque fishing village on the west coast of the Highlands. We will be spending the night at the Plockton Inn, not far from the harbour. In addition to a freshly renovated room, the restaurant offers a menu featuring fresh seafood and a cozy bar. We simply drive behind the hotel because where there is a Morgan, a Porsche and two Africa twins, we know we've come to the right place. The menu was very tasty, but you should be aware that you are in a small fishing village, so the focus is on fish. Very tasty fish. After the delicious meal, we wanted to explore the surrounding area and the small harbour. Plockton is located on a small peninsula and is sheltered from the open sea by Loch Carron. Thanks to its sheltered location and mild climate, subtropical plants thrive in Plockton. Most of the houses are lined up along the waterfront promenade. There is no through traffic in the village, so it's very quiet at this time of day. Nowadays, the main source of income is no longer fishing, but tourism. Plockton is also known as the jewel of the Highlands and has often been used as a backdrop in TV series and films. Although only about 450 people live in the village, there's a primary school, a high school and a music school. Of course, there are also several hotels, restaurants, pubs, shops and even a castle. There is also a post office, a railway station and even a small airfield. Sailors will find 15 berths for yachts. We can highly recommend the Plockton Inn. The cuisine is ambitious and the cocktails are delicious. The hotel has retained its original charm without compromising on comfort. Unfortunately, we had to do without live music or a quiz night in the bar. But we were also tired after this great day, and at some point it's time to call it a night. If you enjoyed the day, please leave us a like and subscribe to the channel. This stage is now over, so you can switch off. You're still here, but now really, switch off.